What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. Today you're joining me in Westminster, Colorado, and we're headed from Colorado and making our way back to North Carolina, and this is actually part 2 of this road trip series. As I mentioned, this is part 2 of the road trip series. I just bought my new Rivian R1T about 10 days ago. I've put almost 2,000 miles on it. I took delivery in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I drove it across Nebraska down to Colorado, and that's where I've been the past, I think 4 or 5 days, something like that. Spent the night at the Aloft Hotel here in Westminster, just north of Denver, and we're gonna be heading south. I wanted to avoid the Kansas typical, I think that's I-70 route all the way across the country. I've done that way too many times. It's super boring. And I'm really just not interested in taking that route, and I have the time to take a little bit of a different route. So I'm actually going to be going south through Colorado Springs, then down through Amarillo is my current plan, and then we'll be heading kind of through Memphis. We'll very much play it by ear, but that's my tentative plan. Let me show you the truck here, and I actually did some off-roading yesterday. As I mentioned, this is my 2022 Rivian R1T. It's actually fairly clean. The whole truck is covered in SunTech Reaction paint protection film, so not concerned about any of the rock chips or anything like that. Tires are looking good and dirty because I spent a couple hours actually on some off-pavement roads. I wouldn't necessarily call it off-roading, but it was off-pavement, and it was a lot of fun. I put the stability control in the reduced setting, and it was able to slide around a bit. Back of the truck's a bit dusty, of course, to be expected. And let me just show you how I have it kind of loaded. I don't have a whole lot of stuff in the truck. Gear tunnel just has my detailing supplies, not a whole lot of stuff in there. Back seat is empty, but I do actually have some snacks and things underneath the seat here. It's easier to open from the other side, so I'll do that. Up front, I've got my backpack. I like to have kind of easy access, especially if I'm doing longer legs on the trip. That way, if I need to reach something or whatever, I can do so while driving on Drive It Plus or whatever. Got some water and everything. Let's move to the front trunk. Decent amount of bugs. I might wash it at some point today. Suitcase is shrinking. Dirty laundry bag is growing. Just be mindful, anything you put in the front trunk does get a bit warm, being that the cooling system is right underneath it. And coming back here, it's a lot easier if you grab from underneath the seat here to open this. Got some snacks and everything. I'm gonna move actually some of that to the front seat. That way it's a little bit easier to reach. And I've got my iPad mount here if I'm in a live stream. Not sure if I haven't decided yet. And the driver's spot, of course. A beautiful Ocean Coast interior. I actually did a collaboration with Out of Spec Reviews and showed off this entire interior, compared it to Forest Edge. So definitely check that out if you haven't. Phone mount, made a dedicated video about that as well. And here are the trip information. So that's how many miles I've done so far. Zoom that in a little bit, easier to read. So getting close to 1,900 miles, close enough to 2,000. And 1.74 mile per kilowatt hour. We've used over a megawatt hour of power so far. I reset this last night, but I'm gonna reset it again here. And last night I charged to 70% at an Electrify America nearby. Being that this hotel doesn't have charging, unfortunately, Marriott Aloft, if you're listening, definitely add charging here. It's awesome. If I didn't like Aloft hotels so much, I wouldn't have stayed here otherwise. And let's see, tentative plan. I did message a friend of mine that lives in Arvada. He might want to check out the truck on my way out of town, so that's a slight plan. But for now, let's just set nav to the Castle Rock Electrify America. Yeah, I think that should work. Looks like about an hour for the first stop, but let me just see here. So the Pueblo Electrify America, this one here, is super unreliable in my experience, and I also want to go to Pike's Peak, which is here-ish, I believe. Kind of west of Colorado Springs. So I need to charge before I get there so I have enough range to make it all the way up. Obviously getting down will be no problem, but I want to take the Rivian up to 14,000 feet. First stop before we hit the road, we are going to be going to Starbucks, and I just placed a mobile order. Luckily, it's right in the same complex, so it makes it really easy on our way out of here. Got my strawberry acai and got my pumpkin scone here. So it's a good morning from Starbucks, and we're headed to Arvada, going to visit my friend Diego, and he just actually took delivery of a brand new Model X Plaid, but he wants to check out my Rivian. So making a small detour to Arvada, and then we'll head south. Man, just look at these views. Just crazy. Well, just visited my friend Diego with his new Model X Plaid. Very cool vehicle. He has like 40 miles on it because he literally took delivery yesterday afternoon. He got to check out the Rivian and really liked it. Now we are headed to the Colorado City, or not Colorado City. What is it called? Castle Rock. Electrify America, because we're going to charge up there probably to 70, maybe 85%. And that way we can go to Pike's Peak, and I actually need to do the timed entry reservation thing. Looked like they had plenty of slots available when I looked last night, so I wasn't too concerned. But apparently if you want to drive all the way up to the top to mile 19, I think it is, you actually need to pay the $2 and get that time slot, because otherwise you have to take a shuttle from, I think it's mile 16, and I don't want to do that. I want to drive all the way up to the top and say that I've driven my Rivian up to 14,000 feet, because why not? And there's a new visitor center up on the very summit, and I think that will be really cool to visit. And then we'll actually hit the road. It's about 11 o'clock here, and I don't need to get too far today, but I do want to get some miles down today. And we just arrived to the Castle Rock Electrify America at Target. I'm not sure if you can see that all the way back there. And we're here at 42%, 116 miles estimated. And I want to be able to have enough charge to make the detour to Pikes Peak, somewhere over here-ish, without having to stop in Colorado Springs or in Pueblo, because both of those, or Colorado Springs is a bit out of the way, and the Pueblo Electrify America, when I was there in July, was just a disaster. So I'd like to be able to make it all the way to Trinidad without charging. If possible, I might still detour anyway, but show you here. So I've got the charge limit set to 85. I have some photos to edit actually, so I'm going to let it charge a decent bit. So let's check out health of the station here. I'll get plugged in first. There, just like that. And it is showing complimentary session, which is certainly nothing I'm complaining about. Just like that. And let's see here while that's getting started. So this one appears to be fully online, so that's good. This one, as you saw, was fully online. These are all 150 kilowatt. You can tell because there's only 4 power cabinets over there. This unit, the credit card reader has power, but the unit doesn't, so maybe it works and the screen's just dead. I don't really know. And then this is the Chatamo CCS unit, and this one also looks good to go, so not bad. Looks like they do have some conduits over here that they could add additional capacity. Looks like they could add 2 more power cabinets, so they could upgrade 2 of those to be 350 kilowatt units. Potentially more than that even. And kind of interesting pad setup they've got going on here. So it looks like we're pulling from this power cabinet here. I can hear it going essentially. Switch gear, transformer. See what size transformer they have. That'll tell you the site capacity. All right, so they only have a 500 kVA transformer here. So it's taking it from 7,200 or 7.2 kV all the way down to 480, 277. Truck's looking great, of course. And let's see what kind of power we're getting now that we're charging. It should be fully ramped up. Hoping it's not one that's limited, not that it'll make a huge difference on a decently high state of charge to no receipt. Not that that seems to work anyway. Oh, awesome. We're getting 163 kilowatts. I am certainly not complaining about that because if you don't know, these 150 kilowatt units from Electrify America, they're actually 175, but you need high enough voltage to actually take that. So going to let it charge up here. As I said, I'm going to run into Target, need to use the restroom, maybe grab some snacks or something. Need to clean the windshield, and then we'll get going. And quick efficiency update as well. We've driven 67.9 miles so far today, 1.84 mile per kilowatt hour. We've gone up and down in elevation a couple times. That's hard to read on camera, but it's we're at nearly 6,300 feet, and we're almost at 2,000 miles on the odometer. Still getting 170 kilowatt at, let's see how many percent, 46%, rocking it. Loving that charge curve, actually. And, nothing's going to thermals yet. That's impressive. But going to throw on dog mode here, or pet comfort as Rivian calls it, so that the car stays cool, or truck stays cool. We just completed here at 85%. We added 61 kilowatt hour in 33 minutes, so a little over 100 kilowatt average. Let's get unplugged here. I was sitting in the passenger seat editing some photos to post on Twitter. There you can see we saved $25 by the complimentary charging, so certainly don't mind that. We'll get unplugged. That'll shut on its own. I love having a power charge port. It's great. And let's hit the road to Pike's Peak. I'll show you the route. So we're back in the truck here. Hit that button. And I think the entrance to the Pike's Peak toll road is like here. And I purchased a timed entry for 2 o'clock. So really hoping the entrance is there. Otherwise, we won't make it, but we'll see. There was a ton of open spaces on the online thing. But let's hit the road. 85%, 235 miles estimated. Really curious to see what we end up with at the top of Pikes Peak and at the bottom. Well, I just pulled off in Colorado Springs, headed towards Pikes Peak, and it has started raining, so this might be a bit of an interesting drive if it's snowing or anything on Pikes Peak. It'd actually be kind of cool, I think. Definitely going to need to pull off at some point and set up my GoPro. Emergency braking is a bit aggressive on this car, but I guess that's better than too light. But we shall see. The views here are just stunning, and I can't wait to do Pikes Peak for the first time. It looks like it's maybe okay. I think that's... Actually, Pikes Peak is over that way, I believe. Well, you guys should be happy. I pulled off to clean the windshield so that way it's a nice view. And we're at the North Pole. Look at that. I have no idea what this actually is. I guess it's just a tourist attraction, but there's a nice big pull off here, and figure why not clean the windshield right there. And now climbing Pikes Peak. When I went through the gate, the guy was like, electric car, right? Oh yeah, then you don't need to worry about low gears and things like that. So kind of cool. And now we're headed up. And we're starting at 64% charge on our way up. And I did lower the suspension down to low. Wow, this road is awesome, but it's absolutely crazy to think that they do a race on this road. And for those that don't know, Pikes Peak goes all the way up to about 14,000 feet. The guy at the gate did say that between mile 16 and 19 is currently closed due to weather. But they hope that it will blow over within the hour, so hopefully by the time I get up there it's maybe open, but one way to find out. I would like to go all the way up to the new Summit House, or whatever they're calling it. That sounds like it would be really cool to check out. I've seen some photos and it looks beautiful. It's a very modern building. I'll call that a pull off to let me by. Man, the power this thing has is just awesome. Effortless even at 11,000 feet. 11,000 feet was that sign. Man, the views just keep getting crazier the higher and higher you go. It would be cool if there was a way to somewhat pressurize the cabin, given that it's fairly watertight for cases like this, similar to bioweapon defense mode on Teslas. More rocks, more evergreens. Just crazy. The road is getting a bit wet as we're getting higher. Man, the power. No altitude impact on power with an electric vehicle. If anything, it gets slightly faster from less wind resistance. I'd really like to see a stock-ish Rivian run in the actual Pike's Peak hill climb. I think that would be pretty interesting to see. I think this is the brake checkpoint. Not sure what this is. Maybe it's just, yeah, road is closed. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, we'll hang out here for a bit and see what we see, I guess. There are certainly people coming off the summit. Well, we made it up to the brake checkpoint, and unfortunately the road seems to be closed going up any further, which is kind of disappointing. Gonna check and see if they have any ETA for it opening, because if it's going to be open at some point, I'll definitely stick around and climb it, because it's a little sad only making it part of the way up, but man, does the truck look good. Gonna check out the gift shop. There's no self-service at all up here, so maybe there's Wi-Fi. That would be kind of cool. And I just heard someone in a Pacifica getting a little bit of a scolding because their brakes were at over 500 degrees because I don't think they knew how to, or just didn't use low gear and just really heated up their brakes. So that's why they have the brake checkpoint here, because of people like that. That way the people don't end up going over the side of the mountain because of overheated brakes. Well, it looks like they may have just cleared it so that we can go all the way up to the summit, or at least farther up. So hopping back in my vehicle and seeing if I can continue up the mountain. I would certainly like that to be the case. And we're now leading the pack headed up the mountain. Looks like they just opened it back up, so very happy about that. Timing could not have been better. And I'm also glad I got out in front of the Wrangler that was behind me, because I did not want to get stuck behind a Wrangler. Decent vehicles, but not exactly sporty, and especially most drivers, they're not driving them like they're sporty. Wow, the views off to the side. I will have to stop there on my way down and take some photos. I think a Rivian would actually do pretty darn well on the Pikes Peak hill climb, just given that it has really good suspension, which I think will help a lot in smoothing out the climb and stability on the climb. Lots of people coming down. I wonder if they maybe got held at the summit and then came down, or just got stuck behind one slow person. We're at 0.74 mile per kilowatt hour on our way up, 52% charge. People are going very slow, but understandably so. We don't want to go off the side of the mountain. We're now at almost 12,000 feet. There's snow on all these vehicles, so that's kind of cool. The craziest part is that this mountain isn't even the highest in the US. At 14,000 feet, we're at mile marker 15. The road just gets crazier the higher you go. And you're just looking straight out at the sky on to the right side. Just nuts. 0.64 mile per kilowatt hour. Yeah, they don't allow drones here, but I don't think you could really fly a drone here anyway unless you had probably like a commercial grade drone, because the elevation altitude density is just crazy low. Most drones wouldn't have enough power to even take off at this high of altitude. I mean, hell, a lot of planes can't fly at this altitude. Of course, most commercial planes can, but I'm talking propeller airplanes. Mile marker 16. Wow. I guess there must be a parking lot somewhere up here for the shuttle to get to 19, but I have the summit pass, so I can drive all the way up to the top assuming that it is open. And it's crazy, we're past the tree line now, so there's no trees anymore, it's just rock and dirt and wildness. Down to 0.58 mile per kilowatt hour, we are at 13,000 feet. More snow on vehicles. And just look at that incline ahead of us. That 1,000 feet climb, or 1,000 foot climb, was crazy. We're now at 13,000 feet. The power is just unreal. Especially how far off you can see into the distance. Mile marker 17, we're now at 13,024 feet. And seeing some snow on the dirt. We're down to 46 degrees according to the Rivian. Outside temperature 57 or 0.57 mile per kilowatt hour. And I'm curious to see when we get to the brake check if they realize that this is electric and just wave me by like they, I think, typically do for electric vehicles. Yeah, look at all the snow. Definitely want to make sure you have proper tires for this road. It's apparently even in late September, but I think the time of year doesn't really matter for this road. It's just anything can happen at this kind of altitude. More and more snow now. There's actually snow on the road. Glad I have pretty good tires and not going to push it, being that the road is probably a bit slick at this point. Mile marker 18. They didn't even check the summit pass, so that's kind of interesting. I guess maybe I didn't need that since it's not very busy on the mountain today. And glad to have it be so open and also glad to be the first one up here in this since they opened the road again. Glad I parked where I did. Crazy rocky up here. Also really glad I put my phone on a mount instead of trying to hold it at all for recording. That would be super sketchy on this road. Road is definitely getting more heaves in it from all the expansion and contraction, the crazy weather that it's exposed to. And we are now 1 mile from the summit according to Rivian Nav. Wow, there's a plow truck. There must be even more snow up top. Mile marker 19. I believe that is maybe the final one until we get to the summit. But wow, I cannot imagine running a race car through these heaves and how unsettled it would get through there. And that's why they often don't run all the way to the top on the hill climb race. You can see the summit up top there. We are almost there. This is well worth the $17 to be able to enter and climb all the way up. $15 for entrance per person. Otherwise, I think you can pay $50 per vehicle. So if you have more than 3 people in the vehicle, you probably want to go that route. But it was then $2 for the vehicle to go all the way up to mile marker 19 and all the way up to the summit, being that they want to reduce traffic and vehicle count at the summit because there's, I would assume, limited parking. You can see some of the water running down here from the snow melt. Yeah, 0.58 miles per kilowatt hour still the last 15 minutes. And it's brought our trip since we got there, or since we left this morning, to 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah, a decent amount of snow up here. Definitely going to need my jacket. It's 39 degrees. Going to try and park somewhere that I can actually get some photos maybe. Man, the people riding motorcycles up here are a special breed. I would not want to do that. Probably ice cold.
Okay.
Didn't even touch him once.
Lowest one of the day.
It's electric. You too. 61 degrees on my front rotors. Well, we made it back to the North Pole, all the way down Pike's Peak up there, and we're at 50% state of charge, 139 miles estimated, and just look at that efficiency graph, just crazy. Our total distance so far, 156.9 and 1.88 miles per kilowatt hour. So I'm sure someone in the comments will do the math for me and tell me how much energy I gained, but I mean, I think it was 9%, which that's about 12 kilowatt hour probably, so pretty impressive. So going to take some pictures here under this North Pole bridge thing. Man, the temperature is much warmer down here. It's nice. It's kind of cold up in the mountain. And off we go to Trinidad. We might just stop in Pueblo just to be sure that we have enough range. Let's see. Let me just see where this one even is at. I don't know what that one's at. Sam's Club, okay, not ideal, but doable. I was hoping for a Target, but I think unfortunately we're probably in Walmart territory now. Another Sam's Club. Oh yeah, that one I've been to. That one's rough. Let's see for Trinidad. So it won 16 minutes in Pueblo. So, I'm just going to see how it goes driving all the way to Trinidad. I'll check in before we get to Pueblo and see what the range estimate is, but we're kind of going this way-ish, roughly. Go anyway. Let's see if it says anything. Thinks we won't make it, but I also need to look at hotels and things, but we should be able to make it. Well, just made it to Pueblo Electrify America. Decided to make a detour so I don't have to worry about speed at all. We're at 37%. Let's see if this unit works. Looks promising. Let's see. That didn't sound very convincing latching. We'll see what happens. There's a Nero that I actually passed that just pulled in next to me. Said starting. That's promising. I think we should get 200 kilowatts actually. Still starting. Oh, there we go. We're getting power. We're getting 4 kilowatts. Okay, we're ramping up. That's good. Let's see what happens here. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a good sign. As long as we get over like 150, I'll at least be happy. This is a 350 kilowatt unit. See that there? And look at that, we're getting full power. 204 kilowatt. I'm not complaining about that, that's for sure. Anyway, I'll probably charge up to 50, maybe 60%, just until it tapers. And then we're going to continue to Trinidad, because we have to go to Trinidad either way, because we're going... So we're going here, that's Trinidad, and then we have to go across. I guess we could go to Tucumcari. Yeah, because I believe we either have to go here, or I don't think we can make this leg. I'll have to take a look. Yeah, once 3 charging stops, so here, and then Trinidad and Tucumcari to make it to Tucumcari. It's a bit silly. But I need to figure out hotels a little bit. I'm also going to see, let's see if we can make it all the way to Amarillo. Well, it looks like the charging session failed for the Nero there. Okay, so it says route has few fast chargers, so it basically gave up. So I'm gonna look on a better route planner and see what that says. And look at that, we're up to 207 kilowatt. And we added almost 40 kilowatt hour in 13 minutes. I charged until it tapered. And we now have an estimated 167 miles of range. And we're headed 92 miles to Trinidad, all the way down basically New Mexico border. And this site is just as bad as I've gotten before. So if you follow me on Twitter, you saw that I was here on a business trip in July, I think it was. That unit was only giving 4 kilowatt. This one, again, is only giving 36 kilowatt right now for this Nero, which is kind of the cable issue default speed. This unit gave me full power, and this one, I'm not sure since I didn't test it, but this site's not great. They're all uncomplimentary and they're all turned on, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna get full speed. Time to hit the road. We have arrived in Trinidad, Colorado. We are at 8%. I was going rather quickly. Here's our efficiency total today, almost 300 miles down. There's an F-150 Lightning here, which is pretty rad. It's actually hauling things. That's using only 350 kilowatt. This 350 is down. It was saying that it was reduced power, and then it went to the screensaver and it's saying unavailable. But we'll use this 150, and then if the Lightning leaves soon, they're at 80%. Well, we'll use that. Another complimentary session, of course. Seems to be everywhere. And there we go, we're plugged in. This is ABB hardware. We've been using a lot of signets on this trip so far, so a little bit of change. It is amazing how stable this vehicle is at speed, especially with the huge 34-inch all-terrain tires. But I think the air suspension, the hydraulic dampers, everything just make a huge difference. And I just wish that the top speed was higher and that Driver Plus could go to a higher speed. The truck is a bit dirty, but we're charging now. Let's see what kind of speeds. Sorry about the terrible parking job. Yeah, I was planning to go to that 350, and then I just backed up and went in this one. It's fine. I'm not actually blocking a usable charger. All right, let's see. These are so slow. Maybe eventually it'll show this speed, otherwise we'll go in the truck. There we go. Okay, we're getting 145 kilowatt. That's tolerable. Definitely glad I stopped in Pueblo to get some charge, and so that way I could let it rip the entire way. And man, that F-150 just looks sweet. 2 blue trucks charging. Well, the F-150 Lightning ended up leaving, so that's awesome. And now I'm on the 350 kilowatt unit getting 207 kilowatt, and look what's next to me, an R1S. So that's pretty awesome, but unfortunately for them, I'm now on the 350, so they have to use a 150, which is not ideal. but 207 kilowatt, 208 kilowatt is much better than 150. And man, limestone on the R1S actually looks really good. I'm not a huge fan of limestone on the R1T, but limestone R1S with the black, or with the dark 20-inch all-terrains looks pretty darn good. Well, apparently I spoke too soon because now we're only getting 145 kilowatt, which is really unfortunate. Here is my R1T blue, and here we have what I think we're gonna be seeing a whole lot more of in the future. We have an R1S and an R1T. I don't personally love the R1S for me, but I think this is going to be a much more important vehicle for like the automotive market as a whole, because this is just such an important class of vehicle. It's basically going to replace the Range Rover everywhere. Just such a nice vehicle. Seems I may have actually been better using the 150 because I'm getting 147 kilowatts, as you can see there. And the R1S here is getting 155 kilowatts at lower state of charge, but lower voltage. So maybe the 150 is the move, actually. Man, their front end is covered in bugs just as bad as mine, or actually probably even worse than mine. And they've got an Arizona temp tag. It seems like it might be a cooling issue on the unit side because it's now bouncing up to like 180 kilowatt kind of intermittently. Let's see if that 180 kilowatt matches what's on the truck as well. Okay, yeah, we are getting 180 kilowatt there. So I guess 180 kilowatt intermittently bouncing to 150-ish is still better than just 150 flat. But I need to do a fairly deep charge. I need to see how far I actually need to charge, but I think I need to charge to probably 85%, unfortunately, to make it all the way to Amarillo. I think it's like 227 miles, but I'll have to double check. Just unplugged here in Trinidad. Charged up to 91% there. Went in, grabbed some snacks and stuff because I'm going to be continuing on to Amarillo. And we added 90.6 kilowatt hour on the second session from 23 to 91%. And on the first session, we went from, I think it was like 8% to 23%, and that added about 24 kilowatt hours. So we're all set to go here. I'm going to switch it into conserve mode here. Turn off auto ride height. I don't like it moving like that. But that way we get a little bit better range with it in front wheel drive, because we are headed to Amarillo. So it thinks we can't make it, but I'll just keep my speed down and we will easily make 226 miles with 91%. I don't know why the truck is even at all concerned. That should be an easy journey. Now let's get on the road. Other thing worth mentioning is that when we cross into New Mexico, when we cross into Texas, we'll be crossing into Central Time Zone from Mountain Time Zone. So we'll go ahead 1 hour. We'll essentially lose an hour, which is not ideal. So on the road we go, and I definitely don't normally charge 91%. If anything, the rest of this trip, I think I'll be able to charge mostly to like 60-70%, which is a lot more efficient than charging deep, but I think it saves like an hour versus going out of the way to add another charge in Tucumcari, New Mexico. Not really sure what to expect on this route. Not sure if it's like 2-lane highway or if it's just like state highway still divided 4-lane. One way to find out. We have arrived to the Amarillo, Texas Electrify America at Sam's Club. Kind of sketch at almost midnight there. We are at 1%, 1 mile remaining estimated range, state of charge. We were ripping it pretty hard on the way here. Let's see, mileage. So we crossed over 518 miles for the day. What's the focus there? 284 kilowatt hour used today, and so far since buying the vehicle, 1.34 megawatt hour. Let's get plugged in here, see if this works. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, we're kind of screwed, but I guess we could always just swap stalls. Let's grab the cable here. Let's see how this goes. I did book a hotel, Best Western, which is not that far away. Let's see if this works. And they do have a Tesla destination charger. So it looks like they're set up for another stall here. Interesting. These are all complimentary, as is basically expected at this point on this trip. Initiating charging. We've got just decimated bugs all across the front end. We've got a green light. We like that. Windshield is also just covered in bugs. Let's see what kind of speeds we're getting. Let's see here. Well, we're getting full power-ish. Yeah, there we go. Still ramping up. Love it. Big fan. Hopefully that continues and doesn't drop out. This session is just absolutely ripping. We've only been plugged in for 13 minutes. We've added 43 kilowatt hour, and it's slowing due to the car. It was actually still slightly ramping up as the pack voltage went up, but I think the battery's getting a bit warm. I'm surprised it's not running the AC compressor harder or just allowing higher thermal load, but pretty happy with this. I think I'm gonna leave at 15 minutes and then we'll head over to the hotel, and then if we need to come back here in the morning, we certainly can. Here's the hotel that I booked. It's 2 miles away. They have one Tesla wall connector, so I'll be using my Tesla adapter here. If you haven't already, I do have a video all about this with the Polestar and with the ID4, I believe, or both. I don't recall. But this allows you to use Tesla wall connectors or destination chargers and plug it into the Rivian or any other vehicle that uses J1772. But yeah, they only have one. So hopefully it's open. If it's not, well, we'll come back here and we'll have plenty of range. But let's just see kind of a tentative route for tomorrow. Let's just say that. Let's see how much range we need to get there. Doesn't like that, I guess. Okay. How much range do we need to get here? Okay, so that's 120 miles away, so we don't need a ton of range to get there tomorrow morning. We can probably be fine with even like 70% or 80% or less. But we're almost at 15 minutes here. We're at 15. So I'm gonna stop the charge here. So we added 50 kilowatt hour in 15 minutes. That's really good. We get unplugged. Fans are ripping. And there we have it. And time-based billing is just crazy. So it's 32 cents a minute. We've charged for 15 minutes, but if you use Pass Plus, it's 21 cents a minute. So we effectively, if we were paying for this, it was a complimentary session, it would have been under 10 cents a kilowatt hour, or roughly 10 cents a kilowatt. But look at the nice emblem, and we'll head over to the hotel. Wow, this parking lot is just empty. Well, thanks to this Mazda 3, Mazda 6, I don't know, something Mazda, in the signed EV charging station, even though it's not a great sign, doesn't say only while charging. But I'm able to use the Tesla wall connector because it has a 24-foot cord all the way over here, and we're getting, I believe, a full 10 kilowatt, which is awesome. Yep, look at that. Full 10 kilowatt charge limit set to 100%. I'll probably be gone before it ends actually with 10 hours, but figure at least that way if we get up to like 90 or something, that's fantastic. And we'll get as much charge as we can get, and that way I don't have to go to Electrify America in the morning. And let's head inside to this Best Western. All checked into the hotel room. Nothing special about it, but pretty large, typical Best Western style, I suppose. And time for bed. And I'll see you guys in the morning.